and I took Lake City by quote-unquote a billion in the play-in game.
On the North Idaho Prepcast, we're all about that North Idaho life.
Man, you talk about Wallace and what they've been able to do this year. Quietly just being, the steady stalwart up north in District 1. They've been dominant.
From Bonners Ferry all the way down to Grangeville, we tackle the biggest stories in North Idaho sports.
This Genesee team is for real. We know what we saw last year. They're I think in the driver's seat to repeat.
It's the North Idaho Prepcast with Ryan Scaggs. That's right. Welcome in another edition of the North Idaho Prepcast here on IdahoSports.com, breaking down districts 1 and 2 week in, week out in the great state of Idaho. It is brought to you by Cornerstone Insurance Northwest. Easy way to remember is Cornerstone Insurance Northwest is in the right corner of the screen there. You can go to cornerstoneinsurancenw.com. From airplanes to Airbnbs, everything in between, licensed in Idaho, Oregon, Washington, Montana, and then just for fun, Oklahoma also. So any of our fans in the Cowboy State, you're good to go down there in the Okie Doke also. Again, that's Cornerstone Insurance Northwest, cornerstoneinsuranceNW.com. My name is Brandon Baney. Let's bring on our North Idaho resident and expert. It is Ryan Scaggs. Yo, what's up, Scaggs?
What's up? I'm going to have to send you the updated graphics package too, because we got a new logo. But yeah, not much. Just embracing the chaos with brackets and everything going on in district play. And there's a bunch of high drama going on too, which is pretty fun. So we've reached that time of the year where things get a little crazy.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to go through all the girls basketball district tournaments in short order. Of course, we always lead off the show with a little banter usually, and usually we do the show on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. as opposed to Thursday at 10 a.m., which is what we're doing now, live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and X account. You can also listen to the North Idaho Prepcast at IdahoSports.com, along with wherever you download and subscribe to your podcasts. I wasn't feeling great yesterday. I'm still I'm probably 65% right now. So if I say anything that's really crazy, I'm going to blame it on my medication. But that's why we
Jordan your game status, but you're a little bit better.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm wearing this is my go-to when I'm sick. It's a kind of a quarter zip Boston Red Sox hoodie. It's got really loose sleeves. So if I'm cold, I keep them down. And then if the temperature changes like it does sometimes when you're sick, I can just roll the sleeve up like that. And it's very versatile. So that's my go-to sick outfit.
Is that a Wallace hat, by the way?
Yes, that was the other thing.
That's awesome. That's sweet. Yeah. I like that logo.
Yeah. So I went to Wallace. This was a couple weeks ago now to help their student broadcasters broadcast the Wallace Lakeside girls basketball game. We streamed it on IdahoSports.com as well. It was kind of a co-op between us and the Channel 3 Sports over there in Silver Valley, that Wallace student broadcasting class taught by Mr. Jared Young, head football coach and head boys basketball coach. And when I got there, not only was this Wallace Miners hat, and I'll go up close to my camera so you can see it a little better. Not only was that sitting there waiting for me, but also this really cool pennant. I still haven't figured out where I'm going to put this in my office so that it can be prominently displayed. But
that's awesome.
Got that as well. I promised I would have this swag somewhere on the show, and then like most things, I forgot about it. And so here I am, 3 weeks later, making good on my promise to the good folks over there in Wallace. So
that's cool. It's kind of Denver Nuggets-esque too, the logo on the front. That's awesome.
Yes. If only my father-in-law could see me. He graduated from St. Mary's High School, class of 77. And that was back when St. Mary's and Wallace was like the hottest rivalry in the North. Law enforcement had to be at the games to make sure nothing
was more fights at the St. Mary's, Kellogg, or Wallace games than anywhere else you could find in the state.
Yeah, exactly. So Wallace is kind of like a dirty word in his house, but that's the story there. Okay, we always start the show with just a quick recap of what happened wrestling wise. Ryan, we have the Lake City tournament coming up this weekend. Last weekend, we had the Conrad Garner up in Bonners Ferry, boys and girls competition. And then next week, it'll be districts, believe it or not.
There's a lot going on. And Lakeland got the win at the Conrad Garner, so that was awesome for that program. I don't think Post Falls brought their full roster, but they brought, some of their guys, and their number twos are as good as a lot of people's number ones. So, I mean, that's not any slouch if you're bringing number twos in that team. But Lakeland getting the win there, which was nice to see for the Hawks program. They're currently ranked number 3 in our rankings, in the team rankings. And, I think they can make a push for, top 2 finish. I don't necessarily know if they're going to be the state champs at 5A, but if they have a nice showing at state and districts coming out, I think they can be definitely a top 3 team if the rankings hold suit. You look at 6A too. I mean, Post Falls at number 2, Coeur d'Alene at number 4. I think the North's going to be very well represented at state. You're going to see some state champions, obviously, from the North. I think there's going to be a lot of podium finishes. Where I'm really pinning, looking for some success, the 3A, 2A, 1A tournament, the North, I think, could be very strong this year. I know that the Ryrie and Malad are out there with really good programs too, but Kellogg has some absolute hammers in their lineup. That's to keep an eye on. I don't want to future cast too much, but and then the smaller school guys, you could see guys like Fabi from Clearwater Valley possibly challenging for a state championship. There's a number of guys in those smaller classifications that there's a lot of success waiting on the other side of this season. I mean, Cole McLamtag we know about from Priest River at 144. He's got Stellar 2 from Westside in his bracket, though, too. That's going to be an interesting possible state championship matchup. And then for Goby from Kellogg and Zach David at 157 from St. Mary's has been an absolute terror lately. He's been on a roll. Aiden Yearout at 165 has had himself a phenomenal year as well. So just kind of going through, what's out there and looking at the success, 3A, 2A, 1A tournament, I could see really the North shining as a whole. Like I said, I don't know if Kellogg's going to get the state championship with Malad and Ryrie being there, but they could certainly challenge for a top 3 finish, bring home a trophy. And we could see quite a few state champs from the North, I think, this year at state from the smaller classifications. And I think 6A is going to be one to watch too. I mean, you look at the upper weights and Mossman from Lake City, heavyweight, and there's a bunch of guys out there. There's some dudes and some absolute hammers. Post Falls we obviously know about too. North, I think, as a whole could be pretty deep. I don't necessarily know if you're going to get the state team championship from any of the classifications, but I think we're going to get a number of state champions out of the North this year.
Yeah. Sorry, I had a little feedback there. Threw me off. I think when you're looking, state contenders, like favorites, just if you're going to handicap it, going in 6A, it's going to be Meridian and or Post Falls. Those two are going to duke it out there. Yep. 5A, you're probably looking at Minico just because the sheer numbers they're going to bring from their district. 4A, Fruitland. 3A, probably Malad. But I think there's a lot of North Idaho teams that could finish in the top 3, certainly in the top 5. So it's going to be really exciting to see.
Yeah. And then there's going to be obviously the girls from the North too. I mean, sprinkled in with state champion hopefuls like, Jolie Sliders out there. There's a number of great wrestlers. If we've gotten Isabel Rice from Post Falls, she could get a podium finish. Shelby Garten from Timberlake, she's really pretty rock solid at 126. Also Shelby Prather from Potlatch. Potlatch has a number of girls that I think are pretty dang solid. So, Callie Brown from Post Falls is solid as well. And Haley McNeil from Potlatch at 152 pounds is one to keep an eye on as well. And Brooklyn Anderson at 165, obviously, from Coeur d'Alene. And then, Sandpoint's been, kind of the dark horse a little bit here and there this year. And can they put together a nice showing at state, maybe find themselves sneaking into the team rankings as well? It'll be interesting to see. Girls is going to be it's always, you look at it, the favorites going in, somebody's going to get upset at a couple of weight classes. It's happened every year at state, for the past few years. And so girls, I see the level of competition, and you can go to our, IdahoSports.com and click on the wrestling rankings page. I think it's kind of a grab bag. You start drawing names out of there. I think it could be any one of those top 6 that could possibly challenge and win a state championship. It's going to be a great competitive tournament for the girls' side, and it's only getting better every year.
Yeah, this is something we talked about on the Mad Chat Prepcast with Val Johansson, our girls wrestling expert. There's going to be a lot of good North Idaho wrestlers left home because you only get 2 in each weight class to state, which is just a damn shame. Here's Mike Scholes in the chat on YouTube. Colton Story from Kellogg has been wrestling lights out. I think he's a hands down favorite at 113. I am inclined to agree with that there.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. Let's transition now to basketball. Let's start boys basketball. Just kind of give your North Idaho 9, and then we'll dive into the full girls basketball district tournaments, how those things have been going there. So I'm just going to show your North Idaho 9 for boys basketball. These are the best, the rankings of the top 9 teams in Idaho, North Idaho, regardless of classification size. And then you can sprinkle in what commentary you want there. But here is your North Idaho 9 for boys basketball.
Yeah, this week, a little bit of change. Lake City got the win over Bonners Ferry in a tight game the other night. And so I put the T-Wolves at number 1 right now. I know that Post Falls is probably going to get the 1 seed, I think, because of tie-breaking criteria at districts. This is just obviously arbitrary. We've got districts coming up in a couple weeks. But Lake City won Bonners Ferry at 2. That loss to Lake City is not going to hurt Bonners Ferry too much in the rankings grand scheme of things. That's a really good team. You're playing the number 3 team at 6A, and you're losing by single digits. That's not a bad loss by Bonners Ferry by any stretch. It did snap that 36-game win streak. Post Falls and Cami, I've got tied at 3rd. I still think Post Falls is going to be a solid team. They get into a play-in game situation, or them or Lake City. I think either one of them can win that game and find their way into the state tournament. Cami, I really like it at 2A a whole lot. I think that roster top to bottom, they've shown it this year at being undefeated on the season so far. They've just got strength on strength within that lineup. They play very unselfishly, even though Dave Clute could go off for like 40 on any given night if he wanted to. He's a very nice distributor of the ball too, though. Lewiston, I've got at 5, Lakeside at 6, very quietly. Lakeside sitting there chugging away, and I think, at 2A, they could be a challenger for Cami. And, if rankings hold suit and everything, then, that could be a matchup we end up seeing either the 2nd day or 3rd day of state. Priest River and Logos, I got tied at 7. And then Kendrick comes back into the rankings this week. Bit of a tear right now. The Tigers are on a roll, and they're in at 9. So, this district tournament, as we get closer in that White Pine League, that is going to be a fun tournament. I know you like Potlatch a whole lot, but Kendrick manhandled them the other night, and this Kendrick team looks really solid right now.
Yeah. It's going to be really fun, that White Pine tournament, to see how the hierarchy all shakes out. And we talked about it, 2 bids to state from that district. So that is the story there. Okay, before we get to girls basketball, I did want to share something that I thought was pretty cool. Basketball, but not in the way that you're used to here. This is from, all these pictures I'm going to show here are from the Bonners Ferry Herald. Ryan, do you know what took place up in Bonners Ferry this past week?
I don't know. So go ahead.
Okay. Real quick before this is really going to prolong it. Kristen Clute, our favorite Cami Cubs supporter in the chat. She says, "Go Cubs." And Sean says, "Wow, we can all wear hats now. Hope everyone is good. I hope Brandon got his wife cheese puffs from Costco for Valentine's Day." Yes. Last year, Sean and I carpooled, or when I lived in East Idaho, and we would always stop at the Costco in Twin Falls to see if they had the Annie's organic cheese puffs. They are a staple in my house. And so, yes, we actually have a Costco date tomorrow, Sean. So we'll see if they've got any at this
for Valentine's Day, see, huh?
Yes. So that's the story there. Okay. The story in Bonners Ferry is donkey basketball.
I was wondering if that took place again. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just going to share my screen. Don't look at all the tabs I have open, but just here are the pictures. This is, my high school did this in Montana when I was in school. My brother and my dad played in it. This is awesome, dude. This is freaking awesome. Donkey basketball. And then you got a loose ball. You got to try and get your donkey to where you want to go. We know they're pretty stubborn, so it ain't happening. Look at the resistance. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, everybody's wearing helmets.
Schools, if you're putting this on and you want a cameo appearance from Brandon Baney, you can email him at brandon@IdahoSports.com, and I will pay good money to see him on a donkey playing basketball.
Oh, man, that's going to be, people, yeah, I'm from Montana, and so people assume that I ride horses and I'm a cowboy and I rope and ride and stuff, and I'm like, I got to be honest. I'm like a city boy all the way. I don't I don't have any ranching skills. I've never been on a horse. Certainly have never been on a donkey. My neighbors across the street where I live in North Idaho, they've got some like open acreage, and they have like 4 or 5 donkeys on their property. Maybe I can go over there and ask if I can practice.
Maybe they're raising them for a basketball team. You never know.
Yeah, that's right. We could travel the globe with our amazing donkey basketball team. So that's that's the story there. Okay, now we'll go to girls basketball. Just had to get in the donkey basketball. I thought that was pretty cool. Okay, let's just start at 6A and work our way down. I've got the brackets. I'm going to throw them up on the screen. A lot of stuff's been decided already, so this will be just kind of a quick recap of what's happened. 6A, Scaggs, Coeur d'Alene, your district champs. They're moving on to state. They beat Post Falls twice by remarkably similar scores, 70-48, 77-40. So they are moving on to the state tournament. Post Falls still has a chance to advance to state. The Trojans will play the 5th place finisher from District 3. That is going to be either Timberline or Capital, probably most likely going to be Timberline. All they have is a head coach, Andy Jones, who has over 500 career wins. So that's the mission for the Trojans if they want to join the Vikings at state.
Yeah, and you want a bold prediction bulletin board material for me this year and have me make another bold prediction? It ain't happening. I'm gonna take. I like Post Falls, and I mean they work so dang hard, but I'm gonna take Timberline if that's the case in that game. And that Timberline's actually a pretty dang good team, so I don't think there's any remarkable upset this year in the play-in game situation. But I do like Coeur d'Alene. I think that that they're probably going to go in. I believe it's the 5 seed at state. Yeah. So they're going to have a decent matchup first round. I think they're going to have a difficult game, but certainly anything can happen once you get down to state and you're playing there inside the Fort Idaho Center. Anything can happen any given day. We've seen upsets galore down there, and so this Viking team coming off 2 consecutive state championships. There's a lot of experience on that lineup too. That's a team that I wouldn't want to see them playing them in the first round at state, obviously, just because of the ability these players know how to play in those big arenas and with all eyes on you. I think that's going to be a good matchup for Coeur d'Alene in the first round. But do I see them as state champion? I won't. I mean, I could probably save that for a state preview show, but I don't realistically see Coeur d'Alene winning it all. I think that the bracket's pretty darn deep, especially you go from the Treasure Valley and out east. I think there's some really quality teams in that bracket. I really do see 6A being pretty strong this year in the field.
Yeah. So Coeur d'Alene projected to be the number 5 seed right now in our bracketology. They'd play Bora opening round, easily a winnable game for Coeur d'Alene. Bora is very young. Yep. Haven't been to state in a while. But then, you're looking at number 1 Hawaii, who, even though they lost to Eagle at districts and basically took 3rd at their district tournament, still strong enough in the Max Preps rankings to be the number 1 seed overall. That would be a difficult game for Coeur d'Alene.
That Eagle team's, that's going to be a dark horse in my opinion. I think that Eagle team they could have a pretty darn good week at state next week. I think that's a team I would keep an eye on for sure.
Yep. And speaking of, you mentioned it, our girls state basketball tournament preview show is going to be Monday night, Ryan. Monday the 17th, starting at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And we'll spend 15 minutes on each classification. So 6A is going to be from 6 to 6:15. 5A is going to be from 6:15 to 6:30. Onward and upward, etc. So you can find out more details on our homepage at IdahoSports.com. Okay, let's go to the 5A ranks. This is one of the few that isn't settled yet. It is the best of 3 championship series between Sandpoint and Lakeland. Each had to win a play-in game, basically. Lakeland, the 2, beat Moscow, the 3, 45-30. Sandpoint, by the skin of their nose, gets past number 4, Lewiston, 65-63. And again, the Bulldogs, by the skin of their nose, they knock off Lakeland in the first game, 44-42. So now the Hawks have to run the table tonight and also potentially Saturday if they want to advance. Sandpoint only needs to win one more time to head back to state. 2 wins by 2 points for the Bulldogs, and they needed a big fourth quarter rally to knock off Lakeland a couple nights ago.
Yeah, and I mean that game being tonight, that's a must-see game. I mean that Sandpoint Lakeland game, they've been super competitive over the last few years. I mean Sandpoint, you look at it, 2 back-to-back 2-point wins. I mean, good grief, it can lightning strike again for the Bulldogs and get another win tonight. I mean, are they playing too close to the sun and Lakeland clips them? I wouldn't be shocked to see this one go to the third deciding game. That wouldn't surprise you. I know both these teams are playing for, I believe, the 6th seed at state. If either one of them wins, they're going to be the 6th seed if I prognosticate correctly. Which both these teams are good. I mean, like, let's be real. I think both these teams would be deserving of a state tournament bid. It's just a shame this year at 5A there's only one. I would love to see at least 1.5 because I think Lakeland or Sandpoint could win a play-in game too. So Coach Love does a great job up there, and just finds a way to motivate his kids and get them to play tough and with their backs against the wall. Lakeland, we saw them take care of business with Sandpoint, when we had the battle for the paddle. Can that same team show up, playing tough and losing a tough one the other night? So it's going to be a good battle. I wouldn't be shocked to see this one go to game 3. I think Lakeland, if they could come out tonight shooting at a good clip and clamp down on the defensive end, I mean, that's really where they're going to have to be able to make hay, is being able to shut down Sandpoint's scoring opportunities and be able to get those transition buckets on the other end of the floor. They're going to have to get some help. I think that they're going to have to be able to score tonight and get help just besides their big 2 down low. I think they're going to have to get somebody else to step up and maybe get a perimeter game if they're going to hope to win that one tonight.
Yeah, I'm with you. This goes the distance, all 3 games, and it really is, like you said, the lower scoring it is, the more that favors Sandpoint. Lakeland needs to get, obviously Landry Simon will get hers, but I think Kiefer is an important player too, if she can get going a little bit. So yes, this is going to be fantastic. Sandpoint can clinch tonight. Lakeland trying to send it to game 3 on Saturday. 4A, it's all said and done. Timberlake, Bonners Ferry. I like the way they do this, where, hey, if the number 1 seed comes out and wins game 1, you know what? That's it. No need risking extra games. No need risking anyone getting hurt. But if the number 2 seed wins, then we go to the best of 3. Well, Timberlake wins pretty resoundingly with that prize hanging in front of them. They win 57-16 on Monday night. Timberlake, I can't say they're headed back to state yet because they have to do it.
I hate this so much. Go ahead.
They got to do a stupid play-in game first. It's a game that they are expected to win. They will play the 3rd place team from District 3. That will be either Weiser or Coal Valley Christian, I believe. Those 2 are playing.
Those 2.
Yeah, so we'll see. But either way, Timberlake favored.
Yeah, Weiser's a good team, though. That's the thing. I look at, every year we see one bracket at state that's got a whole bunch of drama surrounding it. I think 4A is the one this year in the girls' side. 4A or 2A, I think, are the 2 that you could really look at and kind of scratch your head going, man, there's teams that are really good and deserving of a state bid. They're going to be left home, and there's going to be teams that are in the tournament that you look at and you're like, man, why are they there? And I'm not going to throw names out there and watch a team from District 5 catch some strays or District 4 catch some strays. But Weiser, Timberlake, and Coal Valley, 2 out of those 3 teams are going to be sitting at home watching the state tournament. That's a shame. I think that there's, when you want to make the expansion arguments, like we keep making that argument, and I could see realistically one of those teams deserves to be in the tournament. So Timberlake, hopefully, for the North and everything else, I had them pegged as my dark horse to win the whole dang thing. I would like to see them go into the tournament on a bit of a roll. And we saw them roll Bonner's Ferry, obviously. But that's going to be no gimme if they're playing Weiser. I think Weiser, like I said, they're a pretty dang good team too. But hopefully Timberlake goes down there and takes care of business.
Yep. Certainly. And I think Timberlake is not just if they win the play-in game, to me, it's when they win the play-in game. They are a state title contender. We saw this a couple of years ago with somebody. Was it maybe Lakeside Boys? They had to play a state play-in game and then they won the championship. Like, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it was. I think you're correct.
I mean, that's just crazy, but whatever. Okay, 3A, Ryan. This is all done and dusted. Grangeville, your district champ.
Well, wasn't it Coeur d'Alene last year? Was it Coeur d'Alene or Lake City that had to win the play-in game and they played for the state championship too? So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, Lake City had to win the play-in game last year and then got to the championship. You are correct. 3A, no play-in game for Grangeville. They defeated Priest River in the conference or in the district championship 69-33. Grangeville moving on to state. We don't have it filled in on our bracket here, but Priest River beat Kellogg last night in that second and third place game. So Priest River advances to a play-in game, ironically in Grangeville of all places. So Priest River's got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go back to Grangeville for the second time this week. They will host the third place team. I want to make sure. Yeah, New Plymouth. Thank you. Third place team from District 3. That's going to be a tough one for Priest River. I'm not going to lie. New Plymouth is a good team, but we'll see what the Spartans can cook up here.
I mean, the Spartans, bless their dang heart, they have 7 players. I mean, if they have, if they get anybody sick, that bench got short really quick against Grangeville, and that Priest River had a great season. I mean, in my mind, they haven't had a girls' season quite like this in a few years, but. New Plymouth's a pretty solid team. I mean, I think that's a really tough game to play and hope to win. You got to catch them just at the right time. And Priest River, I know they went cold as cold, when they played Grangeville, but that's also Grangeville. It's just they clamped down on defense so well. That's just their calling card. But I look at Grangeville, we talk about title contenders. I mean, Grangeville's as good as any for having their hopes of winning a state championship at state this year. I really do like the Bulldogs a whole lot, and they're playing good late. They've been playing really well down the stretch. You look at a loss to Deer Park, and you're like, but they stumbled so bad against Deer Park. That Deer Park team is the number 2 team in the state of Washington at 2A. So, I mean, that's a Deer Park team that beat Coeur d'Alene, and I think it was by like 24, and they lost to him by 18. So that's not a bad loss for Grangeville. They played that Deer Park team really, really tough. And they've been on a tear lately. So I mean, Priest River, I don't think that they get the Pilgrims on Saturday in the play-in game, but I look at Grangeville and they're in a really good spot come state tournament.
Yeah, and I love from a narrative, a storyline perspective. I'm not sure. Well, maybe Grangeville loves this. Right now, Grangeville projected to be the number 4 seed at state. They would play the number 5 seed Ryrie in the opening round. Ryrie very famously beat Grangeville on a neutral court back in December, and the Bulldogs have kind of been discounted statewide ever since that loss to Ryrie. Not up here in North Idaho, but statewide. They've kind of been
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say they've been kind of poo-pooed by the statewide media since that loss to Ryrie. But again, just using the eye test, Grangeville's a really good team, and I'm sure they want revenge on Ryrie. So.
Yeah, and Coach Barger said she made it as a point with their scheduling to pick up that game with Deer Park. She wanted to mimic playing a really tough first-round game at state, and she wanted to give the girls a state experience before state. They played 3 games in 3 days. They stayed the night in a hotel, or 2 nights in a hotel in Coeur d'Alene. So they played at Deer Park. The next night they played at Kellogg. The next night they played at Priest River. And she's like, hey, we want to get used to playing on the road, playing tough teams, playing with our backs against the wall. And she's like, I really wanted to mimic a state tournament run. And she's like, normally teams do this during the Christmas break. We're lucky because we got to do it in the middle of the season, especially towards the later part of the year. And the girls responded. And you saw in that Priest River game, her bench went off. And I think it was like 30 points from their bench in that win against Priest River. So That's you look at it and you're like, okay, I mean, this Grangeville team, we know about their starting 5 being really good. No, 6, 7, and 8 coming off the bench are equally as good as the starters on the floor. This is a really good team that's playing really well right now, and they are prepped and loaded, I think, for a state tournament run.
Yep. It's going to be really fun to see them down there. That is also the tournament that I will be broadcasting on IdahoSports.com. Ryan, I have been doing state tournaments at IdahoSports.com for 5 years between boys and girls. The 10 tournaments that I have covered or been the lead broadcaster on, 9 of the 10 have had a champion come from North Idaho. I'm just saying, like, even back when I was living in East Idaho and Pocatello, I was doing lots of where teams from I don't know what it is. So
the Rabbit's Foot Baney, yeah.
And all 5 boys champions have been from the North, and 4 of the 5 girls have been from the North. The very first tournament I ever did for IdahoSports.com was the 1A D2 girls. Tri-Valley beat Kendrick in the championship. Otherwise, it'd be a clean sweep for North teams. So. Wow. Just interesting.
That's an awesome stat line. So, yeah. And I'll have we can talk about that when we do the boys breakdown, because the one I did had a North team as well. So
yes, so I was just thinking that through my head. I'm like, man, I've done a lot of like North Idaho champion, and then I like sat down and actually looked, and I'm like, man, 9 of the 10 have been North Idaho, which is just
awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, just insane. Okay. Let's go to we'll start with the Scenic Idaho Conference. Congratulations to the Lakeside Knights. They are the district champions. They beat Wallace 63-45. Wallace, it finally all clicked. They hadn't really beaten Genesis Prep this year. They knocked them out in the 3rd place game by 20, 53-33. They got their shot at Lakeside. Lakeside just so good. Kylie Wolf this week crossed 1,000 points in her career. She's only a junior. She's going to be the MVP of the league, no doubt about it. One of the best players we have in North Idaho. So congratulations to Kylie Wolf. Congratulations to Lakeside advancing to state. Lakeside is pretty much locked into the number 6 seed overall, because the 2 teams from District 3, currently ranked, I think, 13th and 14th overall in max preps for the classification, they'll easily be the 7 and 8. So Lakeside's going to be that number 6 seed.
And I think that's a good seed line for them too. I mean, that's going to give them an opportunity. They're going to be opposite, some of the more well-known teams, and that's going to be, I think, a good spot for them to possibly have some success. I mean, you look at it too. It's like, if you want to go through Max Preps rankings to see how this thing would be seeded if it was done today, and I mean, gosh, it's going to be. Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, so I've got the matchups on my bracketology post. By the way, I'm doing a daily bracketology update where I give you an update on how many spots have been clinched, the teams that have been eliminated, and what we're projecting to be the state tournament matchups. So you would have Oakley as the number 1, Prairie as the number 2. We'll talk about them in a second. Okay. Butte County as the number 3, Valley as the number 4, Lapway 5, Lakeside 6. So right now, Lakeside would play Butte County. Butte County's got to win a play-in game, which is stupid. They won their district. Lakeside is going to play Butte County, and then if they get past that, you're looking at Prairie in the semis probably.
I mean, if that holds suit and everything, realistically, Lakeside could beat Butte County. I mean, I think that's a winnable game. I think it's going to be a competitive game. That might be one of the better matchups in that bracket, especially in the first round. Although the Lapway Valley is going to be a pretty good game too. Seeing Prairie at a 2 seed to me is wild, but you got them opposite Lapway in that bracket, which is kind of nice for the North, so they're not all log jammed on one side of the bracket like they've been in years past. So that I like seeing a little bit better. I think that's a winnable game, possibly first round win. Lakeside could find themselves playing for a placing game on Saturday. That would be awesome to see for the Knights. And then obviously we know about Prairie and Lapway. I think both have opportunities to have some success too. Oakley's very tough, don't get me wrong. I think Prairie right now, they're playing as good as anyone in the state, but any classification, that Prairie team's just absolutely on a tear right now.
Yep. So let's talk about Prairie. as we transition to the White Pine League. Prairie defeats Lapway in the district championship last night, 68-49. Kamei bounces Kendrick in the fourth place game, 56-44. So Prairie advances. And tonight at Lewiston High School, Lapway and Kamei, winner goes to state, loser stays home and thinks about what might have been. These teams split in the regular season. Who wins the rubber match tonight?
Well, I mean, and Lapway beat Kamei the other night in the second round.
That's true. Yes,
by 21. And so, it's like, can Kamei kind of circle the wagons and come back and clip them again? I mean, I know they beat him on a buzzer beater the first time, and Kamei has played them tough. We saw them split in the regular season. Lapway really flexed on them in the last game, but to beat a team a third time, it's going to be that's never easy. We've seen it before. So, I mean, it's to me, it's disappointing though, because one of these teams doesn't get to go to the state tournament. I think both these teams are absolutely deserving of a state tournament bid. So, do I think Kamei beats Lapway? Would I like to see it? I think it'd be awesome as far as storylines go. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't. I think Lapway's playing really well lately. Granted, I think Prairie's just playing that much better. But that's going to be a tough game, I think, for both teams. I mean, they match up very well against each other, and Lapway but put their foot on the gas the other night and took care of business, though. So it's going to be a good game and something worth watching tonight.
I think Emma Krogh hit 6 threes last night for Kamei. Let me double check that. 6 threes, 29 points. They're going to need that plus some. Like we know Emma Krogh is just fantastic, but they need a second player. They need somebody like Addison Skinner or Kelsey Hunt or somebody. Hunt had 15 last night. Like, they're going to need 3. They're going to need 3 in double figures to hang.
They're going to need stops on the defensive end too. That's the other thing. You can't give Lapway open looks.
Yeah. We'll see. One spot available. Both teams both teams should be at state, but I digress. Let's go to the 1A ranks, wrap it up here. First of all, North Star League, congratulations to Kootenai. First time they've been district champions in some time. Typically in years past, Clark Fork has been in this district and Clark Fork has just owned it, but Clark Fork moves up to the 2A ranks this year. Just a 2-team affair, Kootenai and Mullen. Kootenai wins 35-12. We saw a couple years ago where Mullen won the district title it was only 2 teams, I believe, and Mullen got to go to state for the first time since like 1986. That was a tournament I was at. It was kind of a cool deal. Kootenai doesn't get to enjoy that same luxury. They got to go through a play-in game where they are going to play, just to show you, they are going to play the winner of tonight's game between Nez Perce and Highland. So this is the White Pine League bracket. Genesee wins over Nez Perce by 6, 57-51. The Bulldogs are moving on to state. Deary, the 2 seed, they dropped 2 in a row. They lose to Nez Perce in the semis, 45-32. They drop a heartbreaker to Highland. The Huskies from Craigmont in a loser-out game, 32-30. So now you've got this Highland team that's got one of the best all-around players in the conference in Beck taking on Nez Perce, a team that is trying. Yeah, Nez Perce is playing really well. They beat Salmon River earlier this year. Like, Nez Perce is a team a lot of people are sleeping on. So the winner of this will play Kootenai in a play-in game Saturday in Post Falls. Yeah, and
I think Nez Perce probably wins tonight. That's my guess. I think they're playing as good as anyone. And granted, they did drop the game to Genesee, but Genesee is so dang good this year. Paying dividends right now and dropping down from 2A to 1A in the offseason this year. I think it's going to pay off for the Bulldogs in spades. But Nez Perce is playing as good as anyone in conference right now, especially through this district tournament. You look at what they've been able to do on the stat line, dismantling Timberline and taking down Deary in the first round by double digits, and then playing Genesee tough. Can Nez Perce complete the run and punch their ticket to state? I think they beat Kootenai if they're the team makes it. Either one of those, I see beating Kootenai. That's nothing against Kootenai. I just think both these teams are pretty dang good. This conference is a little bit stronger. And Nez Perce at state would be a team I'd look at that I'm like, you kind of sigh a little bit because it's a team that plays very well together, and that's a matchup I don't necessarily want to have in the first round. Genesee, in my mind right now, I think is as good as anyone in 1A, and I really do see them, being the state champion if they can, keep their foot on the gas and play their complete game. They will be the state champ at 1A, in my opinion. But we all know what that's worth over the last few years. It's a deep conference, just like 2A. The 1A White Pine doesn't get as much notoriety, but it's been competitive all year, especially Genesee. But right behind them, it's been a tough league. 3, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in this conference have been pretty dang good.
Yeah. Okay. So from the Highland side of it, they've got a great 1-2 punch. Haley Click, sophomore guard, maybe the best perimeter player in the conference. Kylie Beck, 6-foot center, tough to handle inside. Highland and Nez Perce did split in the regular season, and they haven't played at districts yet. Now, Nez Perce won the more recent matchup, 53-36. And Highland, when they beat them, it was in December and only by a point, 32-31. I'm just saying, Highland could continue.
It goes Highland's favor. If it gets into a track meet, Nez Perce can get out and run pretty well.
Yes, Highland's got to keep it very low scoring. They've got to control the boards. So if Nez Perce advances, they'll play Kootenai. Kootenai, let's not forget, Kootenai is playing with basically a roster of exclusively freshmen and 8th graders this year. They have no upperclassmen. What they've done is very incredible. But I think whoever wins this, Highland or Nez Perce, I think either one would beat Kootenai in a state playing game. Now, Nez Perce, Ryan, if Nez Perce makes it, currently projected to be the number 8 seed overall, where they would play the number 1 overall seed, Genesee, a team that they have pushed this year, a team they only lost to by 6. I'm just saying, what if Nez Perce plays Genesee at state and knocks them out first round?
Grief. Yeah, you talk about chaos. That would be holy smokes. But like I said, I look at this Genesee team. They're well coached. They play together well. Nez Perce, though, is an athletic nightmare. They just they're like a swarm of bees. And if they're the 8 seed projected, I still see Genesee getting the win in the first round if everything holds suit. But Nez Perce on the second day, could they go win the consolation side of it? Yeah, that's a team that's got pieces that realistically could. Highland's the same type of team too, though. They slow it down, they slow the pace of play, but they can just absolutely demolish the boards. They distribute the ball extremely well. You talked about their guard plays very good, but they also got Beck down low at 6 foot tall. That's a nightmare if you don't have any size in your roster, which 1A teams have 6 foot players. Let's be real, there's few. But that's both these teams could make some noise at state. Could they win the first round game to get to the placing games? I don't think so, but could they go and play in that consolation round? Absolutely. I think they could be playing Saturday.
Yeah. I'm just saying there's a lot of intrigue if Nez Perce and Genesee both make it, because then you're talking about potentially, the 4-5 matchup is Dietrich and Salmon River. Let's say Salmon River wins that. Okay, this is a team that Nez Perce has beaten this year. Nez Perce has beaten Salmon River, and they
Salmon River is pretty dang good. Let's be real.
Yeah, and then they lost to Salmon River in the rematch, but it was only by 5. Like, I could see a world where Nez Perce beats Genesee, beats Salmon River. They're playing for a championship. I'm just saying, don't rule it out.
He's so wild. And that would be awesome too. I know that there's a lot of folks up there that on the prairie that are, Highland and Nez Perce, they're only separated by like 8 miles. But that's awesome. You talk about, you look at proximity of good athletes and good talent. There's a lot of good players up on the prairie. You start throwing all those team names out there. There's a lot of them that are seeing success. So there's something in the water up there in Lewis County and in Idaho County that they're doing something right.
Yes. Now I'll take the bracket off the screen here and we'll wrap up the show. Our good friend Sam Buffington, another great Prepcast. Thank you, Sam. He wants to know, has Highland or Nez Perce ever won a state title? Years ago, Nez Perce, no. Nez Perce has never won a title. Highland won, I'm trying to remember, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 4 championships in its history because they've been like Highland has been coached by 2 of the all-time legends over the years. The first 2 titles came with Dave Snodgrass as the head coach. The latter 2 titles came with Debbie Sabota as the head coach. So that, I mean, yes, Highland's got a pretty good girls basketball history. Last title came in 1995 with Debbie Sabota leading the Huskies there.
I believe is the coach at Clarkston, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, that's a cool little storyline there.
Yes. Very good coach. And Dave Snodgrass too. He coached all over up there in District 2. So yeah, so Highland could potentially add to the trophy case. Tough road to get there. I like Nez Perce's path a little better, but we will see. Okay. We will
regardless.
Yes, for sure. All right, Scaggs. It's going to be a while before we see your face in a regular capacity again here on the North Idaho Prepcast, because we're hitting this 3-week stretch drive of championship events here on IdahoSports.com, where basically next week, in place of our traditional prepcasts that we do across the 4 regions of Idaho, we will have instead a girls basketball state tournament preview special that will air Monday night live at all of these same destinations, Facebook, X, and YouTube at 6 o'clock Pacific time. And then we will place our preview into the audio feed for all of our prepcasts as well. In 2 weeks, we will have a special Mat Chat prepcast where we are breaking down the state wrestling tournament, and we will put that episode into all of the podcast feeds, because then I'll be broadcasting girls state basketball as well. So, and then in 3 weeks, it'll be our boys basketball state tournament preview special as a placeholder. So like in a month, we will come back and recap all of the winter sports championships.
I mean, at least I'll be there for the boys one, but yeah.
Yes, for sure. Yes. So that is the story there. It's going to be a while before it's just you and me again. It'll be kind of some state preview shows to fill in the gaps. And then we'll see you back here after all of the winter sports have concluded.
And then we're talking about spring sports. I mean, yeah, this you're drinking from the fire hose as far as time spans go within the state. I mean, this time of year it goes flipping fast. So looking forward to it.
That's right. Sam in the chat. Go Nuggets, Brandon. Sam, you may have missed at the beginning of the show. This is actually a Wallace Miners hat. Again, I'll lean in close so you can see it. But it looks just like the Denver Nuggets logo. Yes, for sure. I would support the Wallace Miners over the Denver Nuggets any day of the week. So, and friendly reminder, our girls state basketball tournament preview special, 6 o'clock Pacific time, Monday night, live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and X account. We'll spend 15 minutes on each classification, which means the 2A discussion should happen right around 7 o'clock Pacific time, where Joel Richardson says, is Prairie hot enough to take down Oakley? We'll tell you Monday night.
Absolutely.
Perfect promo.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Yep.
Joel.
I think so. But we'll let you guys talk about that on Monday. I think it's going to be a dandy of a tournament. 2A is going to be fun.
It's going to be really fun. So, all right. On that note, thanks for tuning in to the North Idaho Prepcast, everybody. For Ryan Scaggs, I'm Brandon Baney. Stay tuned for all of our state tournament preview specials over the next 3 weeks, and we will see you back here in about a month with just Ryan and I here on IdahoSports.com.